I need you to grab the shoulder of the person next to you and tell them, go ahead, just do that real fast. Grab the shoulder and tell them, today's a great day. Today is a great, great, great day. And that's true for two reasons. Number one, Lisa did a really good job last week speaking, and in honor of her speaking, I wanted to wear a blue shirt today. Those of you who saw it, you know what I'm talking about here. Second, I have a gift that I want to give to you because I love you so much. And this gift is these legs. Normally I wait till Memorial Day, but I thought, I'm going to give them all of this goodness 2 weeks early. So you just try to pay attention with all of this sexiness coming towards you. All right, let's jump into this. Today's going to be fun and interesting and challenging. There was a historian, his name is Niall Ferguson. He said this. He said, the law of unintended consequences is the only real law of history. So the question is, do you believe that or not? The law of unintended consequences is the only real law of history. In other words, every time you decide to do something, you can't really predict what's going to happen as a result of that, right? You can make a decision and you think this is going to happen, but there are always unintended consequences. Now, back in 2017, we had a really cool thing happen. We got a nationally acclaimed scientist to come and speak at our church, Katharine Hayhoe. And she was talking about how climate change affects the poor. Now, regardless of how you think climate change has happened, whether humans are creating it or just this climate change just happens on a natural, just however you do, our goal with that was to talk about the changing climate, however it happens, how does it affect poor people disproportionately? What is happening around the world and in our country? So anyway, she talked about that, and I went home convicted that I wanted to make a difference with my lifestyle, because you and I both know, right, that you were going to spend a certain amount of money this year, and all of those are votes towards the things that you value. When you're buying stuff, it's not just something that meets a need, but it's a vote towards the kind of community that you want to live in. So anyway, I went home after that talk, and I immediately went through our house and I bought energy-saving light bulbs for the entire house, which I just want to say wasn't cheap. But I said, hey, you know what? I want to have energy-saving light bulbs around the house. And then I went and I unplugged all the wires of everything that I was using, because if you keep something plugged in and you're not using it, there's still a current draw, right? And so that current it costing money and time and resources. And so I was like, hey, I want to go and unplug everything. So occasionally it can be kind of awkward to have to go and plug something back in. But you know what? If I haven't used it in 2 months, why am I leaving something plugged in that is constantly taking a draw on electricity? And then, and this embarrasses me, for the very first time after this talk, I started taking recycling seriously. Now, Lisa's always been a great recycler, but every time she would look at me and I'm getting ready just to throw something that should be recycled in the trash, she would do that, and I'm like, oh, Al Gore, great inventor of the internet recycling, right? And so I changed, and now I noticed before I started taking recycling very seriously, we would create 4 bags that we'd throw out. 3 of them would be trash, 1 of them would be recycling. The shift that we made is now 3 of them are recycling, 1 of them is trash. Now, the thing is, I started asking the question, why am I using so much stuff that needs recycled in the first place? Right? I started asking a question, like every morning I would get up, I would eat a cup of blueberries with some eggs. I would always put the blueberries in a paper bowl. And I'm like, why am I wasting a paper bowl? And I had already gotten rid of all the plasticware that we eat with, because it's bad. Like, why am I doing this? And so I switched that. And then I realized that a lot of the stuff that we were throwing out would be extra waste. Fat that you cut off a steak and that sort of thing, or stuff that would go, you know how when you say, oh, I'm gonna eat that, and then it becomes a science experiment in your refrigerator? And so we decided that we were gonna get chickens. There was this study in the city of Colmar, France, where they gave everyone in the town that wanted 3 hens, they would give them to them. And in 1 year period of time, the city of Colmar eliminated 600,000 pounds of waste in 1 year. All of that waste going into a landfill, and then 2 years later was 1.2 million pounds over a 10-year period, a 20-year period. And so we just got chickens. And now, I'm not saying you should, I have chickens, I have 13 of them. It's some work, and you're not getting free eggs. You're not getting free eggs, but you do exchange waste for something that the hens are gonna give you, eggs. So they're gonna produce them anyway. Now, why is this important? I started asking the question, what if we could never throw our stuff away? And what I want, if you get nothing out of this, what I want you to understand is that as a disciple of Jesus, we are concerned about justice for the poor. Jesus talked about poverty and caring for the poor more than anything else that he taught on, other than the kingdom of God. And so he wants his followers to care about the poor, and caring about the poor is a justice issue. And the one thing I want you to walk away with is there is no such thing as a way. There is no a way. You know how they pull up to your house or your apartment complex and they take your trash? Where are they taking it? Now, today, if you have the opportunity, I want you to drive down 422. I want you to go near where the Upper Providence Town Center is, and I want you to look in the distance towards Trooper and Lower Providence. There is this big hill there. Almost all of you moved in after this. But in the 1940s, this was the old Moyer dump from the 1940s, and it was shut down in 1981. The Moyer dump had everyone go and dump their trash there, but they also added all kinds of toxic waste coming from all of the companies that are in this area that would basically go and dump their stuff there. Well, many of you are not old enough to remember that our government created Superfund sites to fix up the toxic sludge that's in our area. In that area, in 1983, was allocated billions of dollars to go and remedy the problem of all of the toxins that were being poured into the water just from that waste. And you want to know why that was created, why the Moyer dump happened? Because in the 1940s, this is where the poor people lived. The poor rednecks that didn't have the money to be able to fight it. So people down in Philadelphia came and dumped their crap. You wanna know what's happening today? Now that this is an affluent area, we are taking our crap and we're dumping it in Birdsboro. 80 to 100 years from now, they're probably gonna have to do the exact same thing. There is no a way. If we were forced to live with all of our waste and you couldn't get away, if you couldn't send it away, imagine 3 weeks from now, all of your trash starting to pile up. All right, what are you gonna do? You're gonna start making conscious decisions about choices that our forefathers and foremothers, 150, 200 years ago, started to make. Now, don't feel bad if you live in a Lower Providence and you have the Moyer Mound there. I think 100 years from now, people are going to look at people who lived in a 1 mile radius of a golf course with great compassion. We already know that in a 1 mile area of an average golf course, there's twice the rate of Parkinson's disease. And why is that? It's because of the herbicides that are being dumped relentlessly all over a golf course. It doesn't become magically green. I love golf, and you all ought to be glad that I've had 5 back surgeries, because I would smoke you on a golf course. God is protecting your humility and your ego. But man, I can't stand that golf courses are given a free pass. We have a gravel parking lot out here. We're constantly having to contend with the grass growing up because we haven't made it a priority to raise the money to pave it over. And one of the problems is we always get these killdeer birds. Do you see these birds out here? And they'll come up and they'll yell at you, try to distract you. But the other problem is the grass that grows up, and everybody wants me to throw the easy solution. Let's do what the golf courses do and dump a bunch of herbicide on it and kill the grass. And I'm like, as a disciple of Jesus, I can't do that. For these homes that live here and all these people, you go down Jaeger, it's going to hit the water table of the people that live in that neighborhood right over there. Neighborhood over here, right on the other side of 422. So that we can have a parking lot that doesn't have grass in it. And so the question that I want to be asking is, why are we doing this to ourselves because of our lifestyle? We're in the middle of a series called The More of Less. And today what I want to talk about is less stuff, more happiness. Less stuff, more happiness. Now, here's what I want to do, but we don't have the funds or the time to be able to do it. What I want to do is I want all of us to get on a bus and we're going to go to each other's homes, okay? They don't make buses with 1,000 seats on them, so we're not going to be able to do that. And it'll be kind of hard to get it in and out of our parking lot. But I want you to imagine we go to my house, your house, everybody's house. We're going to show up and we're just going to walk through everything that you have. And we're going to ask the question, what is all of this stuff doing to you and your family personally? Like Jesus said, he just said, I've come that you may have life and have it to the full, but what is this stuff doing? So anyway, so we don't have time to go to everybody's homes, so I'm just gonna gather some statistics that we're pretty well confident reflect homes that are in this area. So here we go. There are 300,000 items in the average American home. Study done, shared on the Los Angeles Times. If you include every fork, every sock, every screw, every knife, every light bulb. The average size of the American home has nearly tripled in size over the last 50 years. If you want to know what homes were like in Jesus' time, take a Toyota Camry, put another one Toyota Camry next to it, and another Toyota Camry next to that. 3 Toyota Camrys, and then stick 8 people in it. That's what a home was in Jesus' time. 1 out of every 10 Americans rent off-site storage. Am I the only one that drives down 422 in King of Prussia and I'm like, gosh, I love the extra storage units. You know what? We need more storage units, right? 25% of people with 2-car garages don't have room to park their cars inside. I hear some people laughing. Could we park 1 car in your garage? 2, right? The US has upwards of 50,000 storage facilities, more than 5 times the number of Starbucks. Currently, there is 7.3 square feet of storage space for every person in this country. Think about that. That we don't have enough room where we live, so we gotta rent extra room. Every American could stand all at the same time under the canopy of self-storage roofing. British researchers found that the average 10-year-old owns 238 toys, but plays with just 12 daily. The average American woman owns 30 outfits. It's the average. 1 for every day of the month. In 1930, that figure was 9. The average American family spends $1,700 on clothing annually. And the average American throws away 65 pounds of clothing per year. Our homes have more television sets than people. Television sets, when you combine, television sets are turned on more than a third of the day, 8 hours and 14 minutes. But when you combine phones, you're in front of screens a total of 6.5 hours a day. Women will spend more than 8 years of their lives shopping. I don't have any other stats on men and their stuff. I just, wanted to conveniently leave that out. But 93% of teenage girls rank shopping as their favorite pastime. We will spend a total of 3,680 hours or 153 days searching for misplaced items. 2 weeks ago, I taught on we need to follow the Bible and Jesus and not church tradition, and I said St. Anthony was made up. I thought everybody was going to get all upset about everything else that I said. The number one thing people got upset about, St. Anthony, right? St. Anthony, don't take away St. Anthony from me, man. I need to find my keys. We lose up to 9, I don't know how they quantify this one. We lose up to 9 items every day. I don't know, maybe, or 198,743 in a lifetime. Phones, keys, sunglasses, and paperwork top the list. Yeah, maybe. The $8 billion home organization industry has more than doubled in size since the early 2000s, growing at a staggering rate of 10% each year. So here's the question I want us to ask, all right? In what ways are our excess possessions keeping us from enjoying life to the fullest? Like, we have these things. Let's just be honest. Like, there's no one here that has escaped the clutch of consumerism. It affects all of us. We get pounded with marketing messages all the time. So let's just be honest. None of us escape the clutch of consumerism, right? Jesus said that the thief, you can go to the next slide here, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. My question is, what is the enemy, Satan, stealing? What is he stealing from your life? And so, what I want to do is I want to look at 3 areas excess possessions have a negative effect on our life. And what I want you to do is I want you to think about this personally for you and how this is going to apply to you and your family and your kids. Okay, here we go. Number 1, excess stress. Everything we own requires time, money, energy, focus to maintain. This is why Jesus said, and it's really important that you understand this, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth. Talking about all the stuff that we own, that is a treasure on earth. And then it says, where moths and vermin destroy. And the reason he's saying that is the average person in Jesus' time had one outfit, one. And when there would get a rip in it, you would repair it. You would keep repairing it over and over and over again until it fell off your body. And then you would go and make another one. If you had an extra outfit, what you would do is you would put it in a safe. Today, you would go to a bank, right? And you would get a box. You'd rent it with a key, right? In Jesus' time, what you'd do is you'd go to your house and you would dig a hole and you would put your valuables there. And so what Jesus is saying is that people in his time, something that was valuable was one extra outfit. How many outfits do you own? How many shirts, pants, shorts, underwear, socks, shoes? You would don't get an extra shirt, Jesus is saying, because the moment that you put it down in the hole in your house, moths are going to come and eat it. Be the kind of disciple that is not storing up stuff, but has just enough for right now. Now that's challenging. It's really, really challenging. I remember when our kids were small, and I've never shared this, so here goes nothing. When our kids were small, I got sick of toys being left all over the basement. We'd have 50 million kids come over to our house. Loved it. All their friends, everything when they're small. They would come over and they would leave. Gosh, when they're small, they have all these little things that they go and collect and have and that sort of thing. And I would come in and there would always be the stuff they're playing with on the floor. And I would say, no one's coming over until it's clean. And then they wouldn't clean it. And I would have to get all, and I would say, Lisa, fix it. Come on, right? So I got now the problem is my office was in the basement. And for me, I'm enough of, that I would have to walk by this going into my office every time and it would just tick me off so much, right? And then I would go in my office and I can't concentrate. So one day I decided I took 3 huge trash bags. Everything that was on the floor, it stayed. Everything else in storage and all the buckets and that sort of thing, I picked it up and I grabbed it all and I threw it in the trash. How long do you think it took for them to come to me and say, where's my stuff? They never did. And they never knew about it until now. All right? There is a point in time where every guy goes from being a family guy back to a guy. I'll never forget, married, and I'm a guy. And then we had kids, and I went to the car lot, and I sat in a minivan. It was a Ford Aerostar extended van, which was basically, it was commensurate with the amount of manhood that was just ripped from my soul. I sat in this van, and I just put my head on the wheel, and I told Lisa, my manhood is gone. This is the worst. So anyway, when the kids were old enough and that sort of thing, I decided that I was going to go out and get a car for me. And you know me, I'm a splurger. I went out and bought a Honda Accord. But I just remembered, I loved it. It was black, it had a sunroof, it had leather seats. I got it for $3,000 below sticker. This was back in the day. You can just go and beat up that poor salesman, right? And some of you remember those days. Anyway, I got this car. I was so excited, and I instituted what I call defensive parking. When you're in a car that you don't really care, and there's a space, but it's too small, what do? I'm gonna jackhammer this car right in there, right? And then they're gonna have to deal with it, right? But if it's a car you like, you do defensive parking, you park out like a mile away. I didn't have time to do defensive parking. I had to pull into the dollar store to get something. I was on the phone and I waved to this grandpa. And as I turn the phone off, I get ready to leave the car. I hear this huge, and I mean huge, boom on the back of my car. I turn around, I know exactly what has happened. I am going to freak out, and I turn around, and it's this 4-year-old girl going. And I said, it's okay, sweetheart. It's just a car. That was, I'm telling you, if that was an 18-year-old guy in the back of that seat, I would have said something a little different. But it just hit me. You know, even if it's a new car, it's just a form of transportation, right? That's all it is. See, Catholic Queering says, each thing I own is another thing I have to look after. To keep clean, keep working, keep safe against thieves. Each additional item in my home is something I have to pick up, walk around, dust, clean, or keep in storage. They tax my time and attention. More possessions mean more clutter in my home and in my mind. Gosh, who's the gal that talks about happiness all the time? Author? Anyway. she talks about outer order, inner peace. When everything's all messy and all this outer disorder, lack of peace in here. Order out here, peace in here. So Jesus said, don't store up for yourself treasures on earth. And the very next thing he said, do not worry, because worry goes hand in hand with extra possessions. Number 2, excess possessions creates extra waste. You know, when we had Catherine Hayhoe come and speak, I started studying this, and I started reading. You know how the Gospels begin with John the Baptist? Jesus' cousin John, his cousin Johann in Hebrew. Jesus' cousin Johann basically went out and preached to people, and people would go out to him. This is before Jesus showed up on the scene and announced his ministry. And as people were going out to him, John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin, said, anyone who has 2 shirts should share with the one who has none. Now, I just need to point out that the word shirts here does not refer to the undershirt, it's the outer shirt. It's what you would consider a shawl. It's what some of you, because you think it's too cold in here right now, are wrapping around yourself right now, right? And it would be the outer shirt. It would be what we would call a coat, a jacket. Now, how many extra coats do you have? Lean over to the person next to you and just take a guess. How many extra jackets do you have that you don't really use? Just so that I have the ability to throw some extra shame and guilt on you, let me share you a quote from Dorothy Day that says, if you have 2 coats, one of them belongs to the poor. I went home after Catherine Hayhoe and I said, how many extra coats do we have? And I went through every single one of our closets and I laid them out, and we had 6 extra coats. All of them Lisa's. I'm just kidding, no. 2 of them are mine, 4 of them are Lisa. I'm married to the most frugal person you'd ever meet, and these are coats she just never threw away. Good coats that were given to her, that she brought from childhood, but we don't use them anymore. And so the question I want to ask you is, in Jesus' mind, is it better for you to have in storage extra coats that are going to cause you extra stress, or is it better to donate those to the poor who will actually use them, or to give them to people who could actually use them? I continued to be shocked at how difficult it is not to gather excess stuff. After Catherine Hayhoe came and spoke, I went through every single drawer, every single closet, every single room, and if we didn't use it, I took it down to the basement and I made 3 piles: trash, giveaway, sell. And in a period of 6 months, that's how long it took me literally to go. You know how you have all these little drawers and there's this cubby hole in your car and there's this. I literally went through everything and I looked at this pile of stuff that I accumulated over 30, well, at that time it would have been 28, 29 years of marriage. It's so easy to just accumulate stuff. So number 3, excess unhappiness. When we gather excess possessions, it creates excess unhappiness in us. And I just want to say, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer right now, all of us together. And I understand there's the Catholic version and the Baptist version. We're going to make it work, people. We're going to come together in the middle. You ready? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive those who have sinned against us. Lead us not into temptation. What's the next line now? Lean over to the person next to you. What's the next line? It says, deliver us from evil. What does that mean? And the gospel writer of the Gospel of John also wrote some letters. 1 John chapter 2. You're going to read through that, and he's going to go through a list of all the things that the evil one uses us, and consumption and marketing and greed appeals to the worst in us. And the evil one that we need protection from is we need to be able to have the ability to not be affected by marketing, to not constantly be affected by the message that you are not good enough. Now, we're getting close to going to summer, and so I was walking by a gym recently, and in front of the gym, this happens all the time, in front of the gym, they're trying to get new clients, right? It said, and I wrote it down, "Guys, are you ready to drive the ladies crazy with a new body with abs?" I'm a pastor and a Christian, so I looked at that and said, absolutely. Absolutely I am, right? 5,000 marketing messages a day. We can't get away from any of them. And all they do is it makes us unhappy. Do we really need more unhappiness in our life? Don't we have enough unhappiness that we really need to create more? I think I've shared this before. Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller. Joseph Heller wrote this massive best-selling book called Catch-22. It was back in the 40s or 50s. And he's buddies with Kurt Vonnegut, another author. They happen to be invited over to a billionaire's house at a party. And Vonnegut leans over and hits the ribs of Joseph Heller, and he says, what's it feel like to know that this billionaire made more money yesterday than your book, Catch-22, has made in its entire printed lifetime? And Heller said, yeah, but that guy doesn't have something that I have. Vonnegut is like, well, what's that? And Heller said, I know what enough is for me. You know what that is for you? Like everything over, like what do we do? Increase in income, increase in lifestyle. Instead of increasing income, decrease in lifestyle gives us freedom and the ability to impact lives. So the Apostle Paul said this. He said, we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we'll be content with that. I know what enough is. And so here's the thing. We don't need more stuff. We need less stuff. Less TV, more reading. Wouldn't you agree? Guys, the average man in this room has read one book maybe since high school. I want you to make it a goal that all the men in the room, you're going to read one book by the end of the year. And this week, you're going to watch one less TV show or whatever, however you zone out, Netflix and chill. Where you're going to watch this, you're going to go to a book. Less TV, more reading. Less shopping, more outdoors. Less clutter, more space. Less rush, more slowness. Less consuming, more creating. Less junk, more real food. Less busy work, more impact. Less driving, more walking. Less noise, more solitude. Less focus on the future, more on the present. Less work, more play. So I put this on social media. So you have these questions. I have homework for every single person here. As you go home today, I want you to pull out your phones, go to the CCV Philadelphia or follow me on social media, and I want you to pull out and I want you to look at these three questions. As you're going home and looking around you, number one, you're going to look around and ask this question: would my life be better or worse off if we eliminated this item or this room altogether? Fortunately, we live at a time where you're not going to save anybody by selling the house, get another house, right? And that ship has sailed. Next, what did it cost me to get this item or room? And then number three, What is it costing me to maintain this item or room? Here's the thing I want you to take away. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. Now, the biggest reason to avoid accumulating things and treasures on earth is that wealth has a way of choking our spiritual lives. Jesus said, someone who hears the word about Jesus has the deceitfulness of life oftentimes choke away the effectiveness. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to have a baptism service, and I would like to invite those of you who have already made the decision, you can make your way back over there to the baptism area. For those of you who are here and you're ready to make the switch, and what I mean by switch is the word faith in the Bible is the Greek word pistis, and it means faith, but it also means allegiance. And so when we become followers of Jesus, we're switching up our allegiance from the culture to the way of Jesus, following Jesus. And so baptism is just simply a way where we're being placed underwater, resembling a tomb, coming back up out of the water, raised into a new walk, a new allegiance. And so we want to offer that opportunity for those of you who are ready to do that now. Let's just go ahead and let's just pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much that we get so much more when we actively pursue less in life. Pray that you would touch the minds and the hearts of people who have joined us online, for the people that are here, as we witness people who are making Jesus the leader and forgiver of their life, and they're switching their allegiance. Thank you for this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thanks for watching today's message. Make sure to check out Brian's new book, Finding Favor, God's Blessings Beyond Health, Wealth, and Happiness. To sign up for Brian's newsletter, please go to Brian's website at brianjones.com.